We're not doing that, okay? We gotta leave those in the past. We're not doing that. We're not doing no tight styles, anything like that. We're gonna have healthy hair all the way around. Perimeter, middle, everything. Shaft, roots, ends, everything. Hey guys, welcome back. I want to say what's up to all the subbies and the newbies. That's everybody checking me out for the very first time or maybe second. Y'all come on in. We're going to chit chat just for a little bit, okay? Today, we are going to talk about edge control. Now, when I say edge control, I don't mean the products that you put on your edges to control them. I'm talking about being in control of your edges. So basically, I'm talking about the health of your edges. So you know that I already talked about the nape of the neck. I have a video on how we're supposed to take care of the nape of the neck, because sometimes these areas, the perimeter of our hair, we can sort of neglect them or not really think about them or do too much to them or too little to them, okay? And they can suffer. Because they're on the perimeter, they're usually more exposed to friction and other calamities, okay, that we may impose on them, okay, whether it's through neglect or, like I said, doing too much. So I did a video where I talked about how we should be taking care of the nape of our neck now that the weather is cold and 'tis the season and cold weather and changes in our hair as well because of the weather and because of the environment, okay? So with that being said, that also includes your edges. Now, our edges can go through a lot. We already know that you can lose your edges or get your edges snatched, as some people say, if we're not doing the right thing or neglecting, or even hormonal things or things that go on with our body can cause our edges to fall out. When I say our edges, I'm talking about literally the edge of your hair, your hairline, okay? So your edges are the front and the sides of your hairline, okay? So we want to keep these as full as possible. We want to keep them healthy, just like the rest of our hair, okay? So with that being said, whatever we apply and whatever we do to the majority of our hair, we want to apply it to our edges as well. But we also want to pay a little extra attention, just like with the nape. So I'm going to go over that just really quickly. Because like I said, we can lose our edges for certain reasons, and I'm going to go over just a few, okay? There are some others, I'm sure, but these are the ones that I really want to focus in on. And one of them is hormonal. We all know that when you sometimes go through hormonal things such as pregnancy, which is huge, that's a huge hormone shift within our bodies can react. And one of the ways that it reacts is that sometimes it pushes out your edges, okay? And you lose your edges, or you may have some type of extra shedding around your hair. But right now we're talking about edges, okay? So that can happen with that. We've seen it. Some of us have experienced that, okay? But also with hormones, stress. Stress can cause a hormone shift in your body as well. And this can cause you to lose your edges or shed hair excessively as well. Stress is not good for the body at all, okay? It's not good to carry stress in your body because your body reacts, because your body cannot handle stress. Therefore, it reacts. It reacts by trying to right the ship, and it's like an SOS. So your hair can fall out as well as other things, you know. Some people get hives and your skin could go through certain things. So now that we're talking about hair, I'm just going to focus in on the edges, but that can happen as well. And in fact, one of you, and you know who you are, one of you has contacted me and spoken to me about how you are struggling with your edges right now, but you know that it's due to stress, okay? So it's very easy to say, hey, just don't stress. But what I do want to say is that you have to find a time for you. You have to center yourself. First of all, you can't help anybody else unless you help yourself first. You have to be in good condition in order to give that goodness to other people. So with that being said, I don't know everything that's going on as far as stress in your life, and I'm not just speaking to you, but a lot of people carry stress within their bodies. It's hard for them to release it, okay? But you got to find your center, and you got to find a way to sort of relieve that stress, okay? Even if you have to write things down and sort of take it outside of you and put it on a piece of paper, okay? And get rid of it that way, as far as not focusing in on that. Okay, some people stress about different things, but they focus in on that, and that's what festers within you. Okay, those feelings, those hormones that are shifting, all of that, all that's going on, that shifts. And like I said, it can present itself in many ways, including your edges or losing them. So that's one of the ways. Okay, so the hormonal shift in the body. Also, another way is friction. We already know harsh brushing, which is friction, that can cause not only excessive shedding, but also the loss of edges. And friction can also come from the scarves that we wear or the hair ornaments that we wear. More specifically, the scarves. You know that I wear a satin or sort of like a satin silk hybrid of a scarf, and has stretch to it. Okay, so it has stretch. So it gives a little, it gives a little while it's wrapped around my head. I wrap my hair up at night, make sure my edges, including my nape, are tucked underneath. And the stretch material that my scarf is made of gives during the night. You know what I mean? And it sort of allows for movement without being constricting. Now, satin scarves, silk scarves, traditional scarves that you would like, fashion scarves, the stiff ones that don't have any give, that you may tie around your neck and you may use it on your hair from time to time, either as fashion or late at night. I just want you guys to be careful with that, because the friction from the scarves can cause your edges to sort of be in peril as well. Okay, because it doesn't have that same give. So that friction that it can cause your edges to break off and also look sparse. So I want you to just be careful with that, as far as what you choose to put on your hair and how you choose to use it. Because even tying a scarf tightly can do that, okay? Because it's very constricting. So not only the friction of you maybe tossing around late at night or whatever, the scarf is going to move naturally, okay? Especially the stiff silk scarves, the ones that I'm talking about that don't have any stretch. You want to be careful with them as far as wearing them at night, because it can cause friction, like I say, because they'll move around. So they'll move themselves, which is going to cause friction on your edges, as well as tying them very tightly, because that can be constricting to your vessels, okay? And the whole point of hair growth, part of it is getting that blood to really circulate, which helps for better growth of the hair, okay, and maintaining your hair follicles. So I want you guys to be mindful of that. The friction that we use or that we put to our edges, got to be mindful of that, because that can cause damage and or loss to the edges. Now, tying into that is traction. We already know about traction alopecia. Alopecia is when you lose your hair. It can cause baldness. And traction alopecia is just that. It's because of the pulling or the tightness or the stress on the follicle that can cause you to lose your hair. So that is called traction alopecia. You hear a lot about that when you hear about, or when you see the tight braids, the tight cornrows, and you can see the stress on the hair. It almost looks like it's about to come out because it's pulled so tight. We can get that from tight ponytails, braids, anything or any style that cause a lot of traction on your delicate follicles, that can cause hair loss with the edges. So we know that, but we want to repeat that for all the people in the back, just in case. That hairstyle, it may be cute, but it's not worth it if it's going to cause you to lose your hair, especially your edges, because you need your edges. You need all of your hair, but your edges seem to hold a special place in people's hearts as far as wanting to maintain them, because when they're gone, it's very hurtful. We really want to be mindful of our edges. And so traction alopecia is one of the ways you can lose those edges, okay? So those tight hairstyles, they got to go, especially now that 2021 is rolling around. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. So traction alopecia, we're not having it. Okay? Okay. Now, I do want to mention this as well. The direction of your hair or your hairstyles. Now, let me explain that. So, and I know you felt it because I feel it too sometimes. Sometimes when you pull, let's say you wear your hair in a ponytail, okay? You wear your hair in a ponytail for like most of the week. Okay, you take your ponytail out. Then all of a sudden, let's say that you wear a different style. And now instead of it going back, you want it to go up. So you pull everything up. Now that sudden direction change can cause stress on your follicles, which can also cause your edges to become a little sparse. Okay. And when I say that, I mean all around here. Remember, edges is not just the sides, it's up here too. So all of this can be susceptible to some type of traction / direction, okay, stress. I'm going to say. You just have to be careful. Like if you mold your hair one way, it's going to be used to that direction as far as the follicles. Then if you change it all of a sudden with the same type of intensity or traction or strength, that can cause your hair to stress or your follicles can stress. Because think of it this way. It's like whiplash for your follicles. Okay. So if it's all going one way, then all of a sudden it's going another way, that can cause a little bit of stress over time, okay? Now, I'm not saying that you have to wear the same hairstyle every day for the rest of your life because you don't want your hair to fall out. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is to be mindful of your hairstyles and as far as the traction and the pulling of the follicles in one way, and then in the very next, changing it to another direction with that same intensity. Okay, so that can be like whiplash for your follicles. Just be mindful of that can cause it too. You can feel a little tingle in follicles. I'm just saying be mindful of that. And over time, it can cause stress on your hair as well as your edges that can make them more susceptible to falling out. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay, just to be mindful of it. And of course, one biggie are the products. I know a lot of us, because we are relaxed and we're working with two different textures. A lot of times when we're post-relaxer, we want everything to look smooth and good and this and that. We slick it down and slap it down and then whip it into submission, and we want it as straight as possible so it looks like the rest of our hair, the rest of our relaxed hair. But I want you to be careful and keep your eyes on the prize and not go crazy with slipping everything and slapping everything on your edges, because they can suffer because of it. Okay, so when I talk about that, I'm talking about gels and sprays that are very drying, that are very stiff. Okay, a lot of this stuff, it makes your hair stiff, and then when you try and comb through it, your hair is breaking off. Okay, your edges are breaking off or becoming dry, and therefore later on breaking off, which can make them look sparse. And we don't want that. We want everything to be at its healthiest and at 100%. You know, just like when you play a video game, you have your energy bar at the top. You know, we want it to be all green at 100%. So that includes our edges. So we have to be mindful of the products that we use. And for those that wear wigs as protective styles, I want you to be careful as far as this goes back to the friction. We want to be careful whatever's rubbing up against our edges, whether it's the wigs that you just plop on your head or whether it's the ones that you have to use glue for. I'm hoping that we don't use glue anymore. I'm not a wig aficionado, but I thought the word on the street was that we're getting away from the glue, but I don't know. Y'all can tell me down below. But I wouldn't glue nothing to my forehead. That's just me. I wouldn't glue anything to the perimeter or anything on my forehead, because not only your edges can be snatched, okay, but also the little baby hairs and little fine hairs that are around your forehead and around, the sides of your face. That helps to add to the fullness or the full look of your edges, even the baby hairs, whether you want to call them baby hairs or downy hairs or soft hairs or short hairs, whatever you want to call them, you want them, okay? You want to keep them. So I wouldn't glue anything around here. I wouldn't glue anything around my hair. I just wouldn't. But I'm letting you know that to be mindful of that, because that glue can snatch your edges. That's no secret. People have been talking about that and so forth and so on. That's why I thought we were getting away from it. But for those who are still using it, again, using lace wigs that you have to glue for protective styles, just be careful. Just be careful. I wouldn't do it, but to each his own. You know, we all choose our own path around here. You know what I say, everybody's different. I would say be careful, but I wouldn't use any glue on me. And they also have lace wigs where you don't have to glue them down. And I would still say be careful, because sometimes some of those the lace is rough, okay? And you don't want to be moving around. And I'm not an expert, but I don't want anything rubbing my edges, okay? So even if you don't glue them down, those lace wigs, when you move around and so forth and so on, you don't want anything laying on your edges or the most susceptible part of your hair, which are the edges. You don't want a whole bunch of friction. This goes back to friction. You don't want a whole bunch of friction, and the products that they use to put it down. Just be careful with that. Just be careful with that. I can't say that enough. Just be careful with that, because we're going into 2021. And like I said, we marching into 2021 with victory on our minds, as far as top of our heads to soles of our feet. I've said that many times. That's because I mean it. Okay, so we don't want no saboteurs diverting this mission. And that includes us trying to look cute with these lace wigs, and we're gluing them down still, and they're snatching our edges. Don't do it. Even the regular wigs, be careful. Don't wear them all the time. Make sure you let your edges breathe, okay, as well as the rest of your head. But you got to let your edges breathe. So be careful with the products, okay? You don't want anything drying. You don't want anything causing friction. You don't want anything that's going to cause it to be brittle, where you can't comb through it or brush through it, okay? You don't want to be rough on them, okay? Your edges. You don't want to be rough on your edges. So be careful of the products. So I wanted to touch on those things, okay? But I also not only want to talk about how you can lose your edges, just some of the ways, okay? Some of the ways we can lose our edges. Sometimes we're not mindful of things, and it's neglect, just like with the nape. We're not really paying much attention to it. We're just bam, boom, and we're just out the door, not paying attention to, the whiplash on our follicles. We're not paying attention to the products or the heat that we're putting on our hair and pressing those edges to death because we want everything to match. We're not paying attention to the traction, whether it's through a barrette or a bobby pin, when we're bobby pinning our hair under our wigs, or as we're wrapping, or for a style, we're not being mindful of this or these things. These are some of the things that can cause the edges, as well as hormonal, okay? Pregnancy, that's going to be natural. There's not too much you can do with that. You sort of have to go with the flow with that. And as far as stress, again, alleviating the stress and making sure that we take time out for ourselves. Again, I know it's easier said than done, but you're worth it. Whatever's stressing you out, you got to find a way of alleviating that, whether it's through yoga, tea, meditation, whatever. So with that being said, I also want to mention massages. I mean, we don't talk about massages enough around here, and they're very important. I'm going to say why. Massaging your temples, massaging your edges, okay, as well as the rest of your hair. But really getting that blood circulating to those blood vessels helps to promote hair growth. It really does. When you massage your follicles or massaging your scalp, that helps bring blood to the blood vessels, which feeds the follicles. So guess what? Not only does this help promote hair growth, okay, but it also improves the texture of your hair, making it thicker. But you didn't know that. Okay, so it improves the texture of your hair, and it makes it thicker and therefore more resilient and healthier, more resilient to breakage. Okay, so you get a thicker strand, everything's getting juiced up and stronger, and you are going to not only feel better, but your hair is going to look better. And again, this helps to promote hair growth. This is going to really make sure that you have fertile ground, meaning your scalp, but a fertile situation in order to grow hair. That's what it's going to do. Again, I'm talking outside of any type of medical malady where you would have to seek a doctor for. I'm talking about the mechanical part of our regimen in which we're failing our edges, okay? Which we're failing our edges and also neglect, So that's what I'm talking about. Not medical, but mechanical, okay? And I also want to throw out there, just like when I talk about the nape of your neck, and when you wash it, sometimes soap gets caught in the nape of your neck. Same thing when you wash your face, you may use a certain scrub, make sure you look nice and lovely. Some of that stuff might get caught in your edges, okay? So with that being said, just rinse it off. And you know what I said about the nape? Don't leave these edges dry. If you notice that they're getting drier because of the soap or whatever cleaning agent you use on your face, you want to replenish that moisture on your edges, okay? And make sure they're not dry or brittle. And you can use a little bit of leave-in conditioner. Just wet it a little bit, leave a little bit, just a teeny bit of leave-in conditioner on those edges, and you are going to see an improvement because you don't want loss or sparse edges due to dryness and your hair breaking off. A little bit of leave-in conditioner can go a long, long way, okay? All right. So I just wanted to touch on that. If you guys have any questions, just let me know down below. I'd love to hear from you. But yeah, I want us to take care of everything, okay? So we got the nape, we got the strands, we got the roots, and we got these edges. And we're going to keep these edges too, okay? Yes, we are. They're going to stay right on our sides. And anybody who's dealing with sparse edges, we're going to get them back, okay? Okay, so I hope it wasn't too bad, right? We were in and out, okay? I just wanted to touch on a couple things, make sure that, I'm checking my list and checking it twice and making sure that we go over our hair and make sure it looks nice, okay? So, thank you so much for dialing in and showing up. I really do appreciate it. I really do. And yeah, we'll be back talking about some more stuff because I got more stuff to say. Hey, I can't help it. I got more stuff to say. So you make sure you come on back for that because you already know. It's going to be the same Dolce dial. It's going to be the same Dolce channel. So you come on back. All right.